talk a little bit about what the program is and also what the requirements, reporting requirements are. I am quite new at this unit, and my task was to actually gather the data that was provided by these sub-agencies, and I was having issues because the data did not match. The data did not represent the progress that I'm sure Nevada, that I know that Nevadans are receiving in the services, and we don't represent exactly what we do, and that's a problem for the state because we know we're doing an amazing work, but we are not being presenting that to the feds in the correct way. Okay. Okay, so here are learning objectives. Like I said, we'll learn a little bit about VOCA. You guys know more about it, so it's just a quick overview. We will understand VOCA's performance measures. That's very important that we all understand what we are supposed to be reporting on and what the feds want us to be tracking. We'll go over the changes that were made to the new report, and we will talk about how to prepare the report, how to fill in the report, and what it means. Okay, so we're going to do VOCA overview. As we know, VOCA is a law, okay? It was a law that was passed October 12, 1984. Is the central source for federal financial support for victims of crime. Every state has a VOCA assistance program, grants, and the grants are awarded by the federal government, and they are on an annual basis. I do have the link there for you to go in if you're interested and find out, more about it. It is very important that you understand, we all understand, that where we get the information. If you ever have a question, you can always go to the link, go to the actual website for the feds, find out. They have trainings on the web. They have very good information on reporting and on trends that they're seeing in other states. So if you have the time, which I'm sure you guys are struggling with that, take a few, take a time and then do that. I've done that, and it's very, very helpful. The purpose of the VOCA program, grant funding, is to provide support to service of victims of crime. So the state has a responsibility to provide response to the emotional and physical needs of victims. So we have counseling sub-grantees. We have great agencies that provide great services. So we are making sure that we meet all the purposes of the program. And you can see here there's 4: help victims understand and participate in the criminal justice system. Many of you do that on a daily basis. Assist primary and secondary victims of crime to stabilize their lives. You know better than us what services are out there that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Okay. Victims Assistance Program, the federal priority victims population that they want us to focus on is child abuse, sexual assault, domestic violence, and the underserved priority areas, which are children and minors, immigrants, elderly, people with disabilities, LGBTQIA2, and the tribal communities and the homeless. This is how we assess the needs in Nevada, and we do a needs assessment on all our recipients. That's how we identify that we are actually trying to serve a priority victim population. Okay, the performance measures are established by the federal government, okay, and they are concerned with collecting the information to determine whether a program is achieving goals and objectives. So we all have scope of work. We all request, every agency has a scope of work, and the performance measurements are going to assist us in finding out if your scope of work was met, if it was over met, if it was under met, and why was it under met, and how can we better help you to achieve the goals that you set for your agency. So we are here to collect the data to report to the Fed, but we are also here, and this data is going to help us to better assist you when we see, you know, an issue that you're having, or you have anything that's going to prevent you from providing the best service that you can. So this data is really going to be helpful. The measures also are, the performance measures are to provide information on the performance measurements to improve the operation of the program. Like I said, technical assistance will be based on the numbers that you're providing as well. If we see you're having difficulties, we'll be there and be able to prove with numbers, hey, why is this happening? You reported this. Is there an issue? How can we assist you? Okay? And then step in real quick. Can you guys mute your phones? There's someone breathing and it's kind of distracting. Sorry. Okay, and something very important is that the federal government has used our data, our state's data, to find out and assess new trends, changes, any experiences, you know, so that's very, very helpful, because then that's the only way we can provide clear information and data to prove that this is an issue in Nevada and we need to address this issue. So I can't emphasize how important the capturing of the data and the correct data to be reported. VOCA reporting requirements. Okay, so the Victims Assistance Program performance measures are reported in two formats. Quantitative, so that's the report that you guys provide us on a quarterly basis, and it tells us what numbers you provide, you know, what service numbers you had that quarter, you know, who received what kind of service, and that's one way, and that's very important. The qualitative, it's a narrative response that it's completed at the end of each fiscal year or grant period year. So pretty much it gives us a picture of how the year went. You know, what were you able to successfully complete? Were you able to meet your goals? You know, what were some of the difficulties you faced throughout this year, and how can we, you know, so it's going to help us and the federals to understand, the feds to understand that we are keeping measurements and we are keeping tabs and information on what we are doing in Nevada. And then obviously the scope of work requirements. Victims Assistance Program, it's done every 3 months, so we request it every 3 months, so every quarter. On this slide, you'll have our dates, you know, when the first quarter is due, when the second quarter is due, and when it's due to us. On this page, I do want to emphasize one thing. Where it says second quarter, please put a mark or make a note. On the second quarter, it's going to be different than what I am going to explain to you today, okay? And I'll come back to that, okay? GMU's deadline to submit the data to the federal government is 45 days after the close of the reporting period. So after the quarter ends, we have 45 days to report our numbers to the federal government. So we are counting that these reports are going to be submitted timely, which, to be honest, we haven't had major issues with the VOCA subgroup. They're pretty timely when we submit our reportings. You can always submit them before the 15th. You can submit them the 1st, the 2nd, any day before the 15th, just not after. Requirements. We want to know what kind of victims we're serving, physical, sexual, financial. We want to know what they are. So keep in mind, I have it in bold, big letters. Victim is considered new only one time during the fiscal year. If they receive VOCA from your agency in a subsequent quarter, they will be counting as continuing. So if someone comes into your agency and they present physical abuse, domestic battery, they come in, you assist them. Next quarter, they come in and they were financially, victimized. They only count once. So you're only going to count the first time they arrived. You will count them as ongoing clients, not as new clients. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Okay. So So the new report changes. Okay, I want to be clear with these changes. I really want to tell this to you because we're going to need to all comply. The format is different.
Yeah.
Can somebody mute the phone, please? Okay. Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you, but there's a lot of disturbance in the back.
Yes,
A lot of noise in the back.
It's not here because there's only the GMU staff here. It's somebody who's not mute, has not muted us.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, so changes on the new report. New questions were added. Some are required by the federal government, and other questions are imposed by us because we need to gather information on certain things. No, can you see? Yeah. Okay. Previously, the report had 109 questions, and the current report has 117 questions. So there's only 8 questions that are extra. It's really not that many, and they're required. So I just want to point that out because it looks bigger, it looks a lot more work, but it's not. So the reporting template, some of the issues that we were having is that we would have different reporting templates. So one VOCA sub-grantee would send me one that captures certain questions, but the other one didn't capture the question. So it just wasn't consistent. So we will be using one form. We will have a footnote of when it was created so that we can refer to, are you using the one that was created on this date? We're trying to be consistent on how we information as well as what we expect from you guys. So on this report, we have tabs on the bottom. Okay, so we have the demographics, the victimization tab, direct service 1, direct service 2, and scope of work. Okay, so in the previous report, you had everything on one Excel sheet. You just scroll down and you keep entering your numbers. Here, you're going to have to go to your tab to enter the information that's pertaining to that service, that type of service, or that tab. Okay? Now, one more thing I added is that I included question numbers on this report. I feel this is going to be helpful when we need clarification on what this question means, or also what do you mean in this question? Why are the numbers on this question different than here? So I want to be able to say, hey, question 55 indicates this, but question 57 indicates this. Instead of saying, under section 2, sub-grantees, sub-agencies, sub-categories, it's just much more confusing. So I hope this is going to be helpful. Okay, preparing a sub-grantee reports. We are going to the demographic information, okay? And you can see that on your screen. That's our report. The demographic information is simple. I need to know your agency name. I need to know your sub-grantee numbers because that was also an issue. We would have, a FIPSA number on a VOCA report, and that just didn't make sense. So I am hoping that once we have that information, we'll be able to lock it. The first time you send it, we will lock that information so that it's not changed. We also have the grant period because there are NOSAs that are not all year. There are NOSAs that are only a few months. So we want to be able to identify that information correctly. Then obviously I want to know who prepares the report, because then if I see any differences on how people are preparing the reports, then maybe we can meet with that agency and say, okay, so is there a discrepancy on interpretation? How can we better assist you guys? I did notice the quarters because I want to know which ones are missing, so that's helpful to me, and the report period, okay? One of the issues I encountered was that I would get a report with, let's say, first quarter dates, but they were actually reporting the fourth quarter. And when I searched back or went back and asked, they were like, oh, no, I never changed the date, but that's what I meant. So I'm trying to also eliminate that issue. Okay, now, okay, go to the next one, on the second. So some of the issues and solutions that I wrote on the PowerPoint is we will avoid using multiple forms. We will only have one version. We will eliminate the use of the incorrect fiscal year, because we would have also state fiscal year 2017 when we were reporting 2019 data. Okay, so once we log those cells, that data is always going to be there. Okay. Now, let's look at the demographic section of our report. Okay, so we talk about what I expect and what's expected from the agencies to complete, and how we are going to eliminate any confusion on dates and grant numbers and all of that. So let's please take a look at the victimization service data reporting, where you see my number 1628. Okay. Okay, changes made to the following. Okay, the number of victims served during the reporting period did not always add up. Okay, so I would have that they serviced 25 recipients in that quarter. 14 of them were new recipients, but the total number did not match what you are reporting in the first section. Okay, it is important to note, okay, that the demographic information for VOCA should only be reported for the new clients, for new recipients, not for the ongoing recipients. Okay, so this report that you submitted should have information on this section, demographics, only for the new recipients. And I had been emailing you guys back and saying, hey, this doesn't match, and hey, this doesn't match, and I'm trying to walk you through and I'm giving you information. And that's fine, because I believe that, you know, proper training needs to be provided. But you know, this is something that I need to make clear. Okay, so in this example, we have a total of 16 ongoing recipients. This agency serviced 16 recipients or victims. We received 2 anonymous calls. The anonymous calls are not included in the total number. Okay? But only 8 of them were new recipients. Okay? The number 8 is already included in 16. I want to know how you capture your information. Do you have a system to capture the client's information? Do you use Excel? What do you use? I want to know that so that we can understand your agency better. Okay? So if you see the total column, equals 16. But I know that 8 of them were new recipients. Okay? I have another example on the bottom that says 25 recipients were serviced, 3 anonymous calls, and 15 were new. And I'm showing this because I have some mechanisms to assist you with trying to report correctly. Okay, so under the demographic section, under race, gender, and age, that we are only going to report that information on new recipients only, or new clients. So my number for those sections, for the first example, should total to 8. Those cells are those cells that say quarterly totals will be locked. Okay. So on the bottom, on my second example where it says the total 25, you can see that my number doesn't match under quarters totals for race and ethnicity. Okay, I have this spreadsheet created so that it will trigger a red number or a red box if it's incorrect and a green box if it's correct. Does that make sense? You want to show them how? Just put any number. A second, yeah. Probably we have to put a total number. Can't you see that? Okay, right now she's saying that 10 of those total recipients are new. So she added 15 under race, and you get a box that is red saying this is incorrect. Now she did it right, and then you get a box that's right. Okay? Same mechanism is used for gender and age. Okay, I'm hoping this is going to really help out when you are filling out your reports. This is going to indicate, hey, wait, something's wrong. Does anybody have any questions on this section of the presentation? Okay, moving on to the second tab. It's the victimization and special class tab, okay? Please report information on all individuals. So this section is on all your ongoing recipients, all your ongoing clients, all the victims that you've served, not the age, but the total number, okay? Total number on question 5. Now, go back, please, so we can show them the questions. On the top, you see question, and they're in blue. Okay, question 5 is the total of clients we served that quarter. So when we're doing victimization reporting, we are doing it on those 16. We're doing it on those 25, on those 15. We're doing it on the total, not the new ones. We're doing everybody. Okay? Enter the count of individuals who received services based on each presenting victimization type during the period. An individual may be counted in more than one victimization type. An individual may not be counted more than once within the same victimization. Okay, what does that mean? I can come in and receive services from your agency, and I have been victimized with, let's say, physical assault, okay, DUI, kidnapping. I can have multiple victimization types. But if I've been victimized, I've been receiving, or no, not receiving, but I've been kidnapped 3 times in that quarter. You can't count that times 3, only once. Now, it's very important that we pay attention to these numbers because these numbers are really going to represent the services that you offer. And I would, I hate to see the numbers and know that we are misrepresenting your work. Okay, now, but on the bottom, I have some instructions on the black section. I have some instructions that you can always refer to, okay? And that's what they say, exactly what I just read. They may have more than one victimization. They may not be counted. So it will be there for you to glance at it. If you have any questions, it'll be right there. Okay. Any questions on the victimization type? Okay. Section 2, direct services. The victim compensation question, which is the first one you have on question 67, okay, says number of victims assisted with victims compensation application during the reporting period. Okay, remember, all victims must be offered the opportunity to request VOCA compensation. An application must be made available to them. So everybody should know that they have access and they should be given this information. Okay? When you're entering this information, please count the number of individuals who received assistance with completing a victim's compensation application during the reporting period, even if they did not submit the application. Okay? I come into your agency, you provide me the opportunity to apply, you help me, you assist me in completing this application, and I decide that I'm not going to submit it, you're still going to count that number because you assisted me. Okay? That's correct. That's the correct way that we should be reporting. The incorrect way that we should not be reporting is, I come into your agency, you assist me, and you give me an application and say, hey, this is available. Take it home and complete it. That should not be counted. Giving out an application, just giving it out to them does not qualify as assistance. Okay? Any questions on this section? On the compensation question? Okay, moving on, direct service, section 2. I added a question for under each subcategory for direct services. So every section I added, does your agency provide this service? Okay? What I'm seeing is I see reports with zeros or numbers in all sections, and when they don't make sense and I go back and ask, hey, what does this mean? They're like, oh, we don't even provide that section, so it shouldn't even be there. Okay, so I'm trying to make this easier on you guys. So on the first example, it says, does your agency provide information and referrals? If your agency does provide that service, you're going to mark Y. Not yes, Y. Then that section, that subcategory will turn green, meaning numbers should be added. This section does apply to your agency. Okay? The example next to my Y is the second question, which is, does your agency provide personal advocacy and accompaniment? My agency doesn't, so I'm going to do no, N for no, and it's going to turn gray, which means nothing needs to be there because it's not applicable to my agency. As we get to know your agency better and as we can modify the reports to meet your agency requirements and services, we might be able to just log those cells that you're not using so that you don't even have to bother about them. But for now, everybody's going to do this until we get to know each agency. Okay? Those questions were added by me because I think it would make sense to you guys, that's what I was thinking, to not even address the issues that are not applicable with your agency. Okay? For example, the crisis call centers, you know, they specialize in one subcategory, or the police agency, they only provide one subcategory, the legal services.
What's the difference between not reported and not tracked?
Not reported. We had that question yesterday, and according to the feds, not reported is the client, I come in, you ask me what my ethnic group is, and I say, I don't want to tell you. I'd rather not tell you. Or my sexuality or my gender, or whatever it is that you ask and I say, I'd rather not. I'm not reporting it. And you're telling me we service these people and they chose not to report this information. Okay? Not tracked is, does your agency track this information? And if your agency doesn't track this information, why aren't we tracking it? It could be that it's policy. You know, some of the police agencies don't track all information. And it's their policy not to track because, you know, their policies. So that's the difference between not reported and not tracked. Now, if we see a sub-agency that should be tracking that information, and I know, I'm going to reach out and I'm going to say, is there a reason why we're not tracking? And I've had people say, I don't have a tracking mechanism, or I don't know how to track it. Then that's when we come in and say, okay, let's sit down and let's see what options are there and how can we better assist you and what can we do to resolve this issue. Is that a good answer? Is that any questions on that answer and that question?
Now, are the questions going to be the same order as the former report? Or is it utilize client software that links directly to the federal version, which our state was using last year?
The questions are in the same order, but there's extra questions. So I don't know how that's going to play with your software. Okay? That's it. Okay. Okay, so I explained, that they're going to turn green, they're going to turn gray. That's on the PowerPoint. So you will understand that. I gave you an example, but we showed you on the live worksheet here. Now, can we go to the PowerPoint? Now, when reporting shelter, next one, two more. Shelter, okay? When we're reporting shelter and housing services, this is very important. I know that many of our sub-grantees provide this service, and they're not reporting correctly. So we are really cutting ourselves short, and I know that because when I add the numbers and when I go back and look, they're under-reporting. So here you're going to report the total number of victims who received this service during the reporting period. Enter the number of nights of domestic violence victims that stayed in your facility during this period. So we do need to know how many received shelter services and the total number of nights that they stayed. Okay, because I would see reports where 20 received services and 20 nights. And when I would reach out and say they all stayed one night, oh no, I'm reporting how many actually received shelter services. Yeah, you're reporting that twice. And you had 20 recipients receiving the service, and they overstayed more than 20 times, more than 20 nights. Okay.
I have a question. This is Karen in Fallon. If it is not in our scope of work to provide bed nights under the VOCA grant, do we still do that? Because I'll be reporting that on the FIPSA grant.
No, we do not want to. We do not want to use the same numbers for one grant on another.
Okay. Right.
We need clean data. So, and that's also something that we need to address. Okay. If you are reporting, the numbers that you're reporting for VOCA should only be reported for VOCA. They should not be reported under any other grant.
Right. So if it's not in our VOCA grant under the scope of work, we don't report it.
Well, because that would be double dipping on the clients.
Exactly.
You should be reporting, yes. And please I want to make this clear. If you're reporting numbers for VOCA, they should not be the same numbers that you're reporting for any other grant, with us or with any other grantee, because that is fraud.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Now,
Maxine, so if one quarter I provide shelter and the next quarter I do not, is it yes on one and then N on no?
Yes. 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 If there's a change, you provide it in one quarter, you provide a service in one quarter, but then you don't provide it on the next, you're going to mark no. We want clean data. Now, every tab has a section for comments. Okay? Every tab has that. The way I would like any comments to be made that are specific to questions, I would like you to write Q for question, Q for question, and then 65, whatever number, 25, whatever question number you are going to talk to me about. So Q 100, and then you can say not reported this quarter, or whatever it is that you want to expand an explanation on that question, please let me know in the comment section. If you provide a different service or you see a trend on victimization, whatever that it is that you want to let us know, please put it there and attach it to the question and number. If it doesn't attach to a question, if it's not relating any question, just say, note, this is blah, blah, blah. Why is that important? Because you encounter things that we are not accounting for. You are doing things that we are not even informed that you're doing. And we want to let the government know that this is what we're doing and this is what we are seeing, even if it's not on our report, because we're only using the performance measures given to us to report on those specific measures. But if you're going beyond and above and beyond, and you Okay, any questions on shelter and health?
So D1 and D2 are overnights in shelter.
Let me. Number of nights or has to be in a shelter? Okay. Okay. So for the shelter section, I see. Okay. Emergency shelter and transitional housing are different things. So somebody comes in with a victimization and it's an emergency and you need to put an emergency shelter and either be it your own shelter or a motel, hotel, whatever it is that you figure out and your agency provides, that's what emergency shelter is. And transitional housing is a different, it's different survey. So we expect those numbers to also be reported.
Marianne is asking, what is VOCA assist with paying for the power in the shelter? The FIPSA grant provides funds for the employee that runs the shelter. How do we determine if we report the shelter night or not? One client can receive services from more than one grant. That's when you would do the cost allocation, Marianne. So a percent of your grant would go to FIPSA and a percent of it would go to VOCA. But as far as reporting, how do they do that?
Okay, Marianne, let me get back to you on that, on everybody. I will do a Q&A of what we have been receiving and it will be sent out. Let me do that because I'm working on my FIPSA reporting and I have a few more courses to take. And I don't want to give you the wrong information because I want to be knowledgeable about FIPSA too. Okay, anybody else have questions? I am done with the presentation. Please ask me any questions you have or email me any questions you have. What do you guys think about the report? Everybody hung up.
I was actually going to say I think the new Excel forms look like a substantial improvement, a pretty nice upgrade. So I really appreciate all the time and effort you put into it.
Thank you. Thank you. And just so you guys understand, we have a report designed just like that one for each one of your agencies. So what I was doing in the past is I was data entering everything you provided, which is exhausting, and it's not, you know, there's room for error. This format, we feel it's going to be easier on you guys as we move on, and it's also going to be easier on us to transfer into our final sheet. Okay? Now, I told you guys I was going to come back to my question on, let me see, what question was that? Oh, on my breakdown of the dates when they're due. I hope I don't confuse you, but I'm possibly going to. Sorry, I'm making so much noise. Okay. Could you take us to this? The subrecipient reporting period, okay? Because the federal grants are on a federal year, fiscal year, okay, which is October to September, but we run on a state fiscal year, which is July through June. I'm going to need you to report for the second quarter, because that would be our first federal quarter. I know it's confusing. Our second quarter, you should not have any new recipients. I want you to report to me all the recipients that you have. Moving forward, we're going to be breaking them down on, okay, these were ongoing in this or new. But to begin the fiscal year, the federal fiscal year, you're only going to report all your ongoing recipients or clients. Does that make sense? So for the first quarter, which for us would be the second quarter, so for our second quarter, okay, on the first question, where it says number of recipients or number of services or number of recipients that receive services, I need your total number.
Total number for the 3 quarters?
No.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Quarter.
Oh, just the clients in the quarter. Okay.
Yes, just for the second quarter.
Why don't you want new ones? Why do you want, or you mean you're lumping them all together?
Yes. We're starting, I mean, if you have new ones, what I want is your total number.
Okay,
So the total number of everybody the second quarter.
right.
Yes, I want to see all your numbers because that's how, on a federal calendar, that's when we're starting. And I want to start with your total number, and this is every year. So if your total number,
October 1st, you want total
No.
number.
January 15th.
Motion
No,
on second quarter.
I know, but you're going to report at the end of that quarter, which is January 15th, on October, November, December. Right?
you can report all your ongoing, you can report all your news, but I need all your active services,
Okay.
service clients numbers.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you. Okay, any other questions? So I heard that the new report seems to be functional, or at least, an upgrade. Any other concerns, any other questions, any other feedback? No? Okay. We do have, I sent out the updated workshop schedule. Please take a look at it. August 8th, we will have the same, not the same, but the same purpose of a presentation for all marriage license. Okay, so I will be sending that to marriage license subrecipients. August 13th, okay, we're going to be in Reno. I will be sending out, I think I sent out an invite. So we will be in Reno. Just for Q&A, anybody that wants to come over, ask us questions, any questions, either programming, budgeting, anything. We will be there, accessible to you, can make it. August 14th, we're having a Title IV reporting guidelines. 15th, we're having Shafi and Fafi, same thing, reporting guidelines. Okay, August 20th, we will have 2 of our members travel to Las Vegas to offer any questions, any concerns, any feedback, anything. The off-site visitations or workshops that we are going to go offer are optional, okay? But it is an opportunity for you to bring a question or bring your any discrepancies or issues you're having with anything in our program, so that a grant management team can help you. August 26th, we're going to have the FIPSA reporting requirements. And August 29th, it's an off-site visit to Winnemucca for the rural agencies that want to come and ask questions, or, want us to explain anything that you guys may need. Do you guys have any questions on anything that you guys would like us to present? Is there any feedback? Is this helpful? Okay. Okay, guys, thank you very much for your participation.